What do you think the sort of single most important lesson is from the world of sport, which you are so hugely passionate about, that you can take into life coaching? Because I certainly see it from my window that I look in on Ben's world, and see all the valuable lessons there are for people to take heed of from the world of sport, and how you can transfer those and apply those in all sorts of different ways. What do you think the most important things are from your experience as a sportsman that you can take into coaching other people?
George, this is such a good question. And there's probably a number of things, and I'm always wary, especially when I talk with people in the business world, that, trying to marry the learnings, or say that sport is similar to business, or anything else. I'm always conscious of saying that, but there are definitely learnings that you can take from both that benefit each other. And Clive Woodward, my first England coach, was a real great example of that, how you can take his learnings from the business world and apply it into managing an international rugby team. I think one of the most important things that I've discovered since stepping out of sport and working in organizations is that there's something around feedback and a feedback culture that is normal in sport, and that you get on a daily basis. That sort of that hot feedback when you're on the pitch or when you're in training, that is an instant. It's like almost it's just an accepted thing that happens. So something, some sort of learning happens. You go into a session, you're watching an analysis video, whatever it is, might not go right, and you get instant feedback, you get hot feedback, and that skill in giving that feedback in a way that is not going to piss me off as a player in the moment, and my ability as an individual to understand that what I'm being given, how I respond to it, will determine how that individual will share, whether he'll share feedback with me again so that I can improve. So that intent, the intent of feedback, I think, is really important, is that feedback is about improvement. And when I step outside of sport, because in sport we get it continually, therefore we're always looking to move forward. And it's not always in the moment. Often it's reflective, or, it's cold, it's in analysis post-game, it's a week down the line, it's a reflection on the year, it's after the session, and it's considered and it's thought through. But it's constant, you're getting it all the time, and it develops this real ability to move forward, learn, and make changes rapidly. Because in sport, the outcomes are about every weekend. And I was really surprised in a lot of places, organizations that I've connected with, been involved with, to hear that, individuals only get real feedback yearly, an annual review, maybe quarterly if they're lucky. So to actually drive change in performance, if you're only getting feedback on how you're doing, those tiny percentages of the year, how are we really ever going to improve? Surely we're going to continue doing this. So that for me is probably one of the biggest areas, I think, that can benefit the world outside sport. And it's our understanding as individuals that feedback, and often I think the word feedback itself has a negative connotation. It's like, can we offer some feedback? Oh God, okay, here we go. Right, brace for the brace for the onslaught of what I need to improve on. Right,
what can we call it? What can we call it that makes it much more progressive and positive?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think it's just changing our perception of it. I haven't an answer for you there, Georgie. I wish I did straight away. But I think if we change the perception of, like, what is the intent of feedback, if we can just change our thinking around it, is that someone's trying to offer me feedback because they want me to improve, and how I take and respond to that feedback will determine how, if they give it to me again because I want feedback. And it's almost moving, it's like Carol Dweck's sort of growth mindset, continuum. It's instead of waiting for feedback because we're a little bit nervous of it, and actually being judged is human condition that makes us a little bit scared. And okay, are we good enough? All those things. If we're getting it all the time, it doesn't matter because we're used to it. It's the norm then. If we wait that long, actually, instead of waiting, let's go ask for it. Just ask for some feedback. So all of a sudden the intent and the change around that in our own minds makes it easier, I think, to move.
Yeah, my sort of experience and take on that is that sports people, by their very nature, are super proactive. I mean, they don't wait for somebody to tell them what to do most of the time. They know that there's a job that they can be doing alongside whatever else might be being, coached or taught in a particular way. So that proactivity, it feels, is really, really part of what a sports person's all about, or what somebody who loves sports all about. And I suppose that can reflect itself in many ways. It's a bit like you sharing your story about colitis, but also that throat infection, which came subsequently, which gave you a cancer scare, which thank God it wasn't, but fundamentally made you go, right, I'm going to take control of what I'm putting in and work out how I can, be proactive about my own health and well-being. And I guess that's another thing, right? As we're all getting older, we feel that that's more important than ever, to be not just for medical issues that might crop up, but just to keep an equilibrium so that we really know what's going on inside our systems.
I think that's I think that's a really, really clear message. Understanding ourselves better is surely the key to us being happier in life. It's really easy to point the finger of blame elsewhere, but actually, when you're talking about being proactive, that's it. It's you can sit back and go, well, why have I got colitis? Or in a game, something's gone wrong. Oh, it's his fault. His fault. The pass was terrible. I dropped it. Actually being proactive, taking ownership of our responsibility and just being accountable. I think that, if there are other lessons to learn, it's around accountability and vulnerability. I don't necessarily know that. No, I think actually in the sporting teams I worked with, vulnerability is a big part of, it was an important part when it was shown by leaders, by people in charge. It was massively impactful because it meant that, this search for perfection, which often sport is about, which is a fallacy, right? Because you're never going to be happy with where you are. So actually, changing our view on that, because that has its own, negative effect. But just seeing leaders that are prepared to go, guys, made a mistake there. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. And I'll go away and change it. And you're like, oh, breath of, I can relax a little bit. It's about me being better, but actually it's also okay if I make mistakes, and I'm not going to get absolutely hammered for it, because it's normal, and the leader's, saying that he makes it as well. It's not to say that we're going to go out, and no one goes out to have a poor performance, to put your hand up and go, actually, I could have done that better there, guys, rather than go, if you'd passed it better, or if you'd done this, if you'd done that. So a big piece around that accountability and vulnerability, especially in leadership, I think is a quality that is underappreciated, I think.
And that also comes with experience, doesn't it? I feel like we've all grown up a little bit. I mean, when you look back at those days when we used to, refer to you as Mad Dog Moody and all that kind of stuff. It's like, have you kind of, from taking your sort of, your playing days where a situation might flare up, and you've spoken openly about going and speaking to a sports psychologist about that and how to manage that. Again, is that something that with patience, you talk about that fan waiting for that signed piece of memorabilia for you to come out the dressing room, and the patience that it showed to do that. We've got really bad at being patient as a group of people. I feel like speaking to you today, you're so reflective, and you're patient in your tone, and it feels like you've all this experience has taught you just so much about who you are as a person and who you want to be moving forward. So is that something that you've had to really work on? And is it something that you actually can be really vulnerable about when you're being a coach with others about that? Because, there is no such thing, is there, as the perfect version of a person. We all have to work on ourselves in different ways. Is that something that you've had to really, really look at hard?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in the early stages of my retirement, when you still have that sporting mindset on, and it's about, constantly achieving and being the best, and you put this sort of veneer on where your world is perfect, irrelevant of what's going on. You want to paint this perfect picture. And again, you stick with that invincibility sort of I don't know, that it's just that sort of lingers over you. You have to sort of paint this picture of always winning and always being on top, which was such a load of old crap, right? Because it's not real. It's not real. And I chatted to a friend of mine, Leon Lloyd, actually, and it was after a conversation with Jonathan, my life coach, and I just asked him around in retirement, where do you see me? Where are my weaknesses at the minute? Because I don't get any feedback anymore. I haven't got a group of teammates, coaches, nutritionists, physios, medics, supporting me and being able to ask questions or them questioning me. I'm just cracking on thinking that I'm doing everything perfectly. and he just gave me it was such a good, process to go through. Just ask a close confidant that you trust to give you some honest reflections on where you're at. And he just said a couple of things that really made me reflect on what I was doing and how I was behaving and how my behaviors had maybe changed and how I'd maybe got a little bit too comfortable and comfortable being a little bit lazy, actually. So yeah, in answer, Georgie, I've had to do a lot of reflection on my own sort of behaviors and personality, and I always do that. I don't think, we're never too old to learn, are we? I had the great pleasure going out to Normandy last weekend, and D-Day, the 80th anniversary is soon approaching of D-Day, and spending time reflecting in those environments is really poignant. And thinking about, again, learning and what are the lessons we can take from those generations that gone before, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in this environment where it's always about moving forward, always improving, and that only if we're improving, only if we're moving forward is that better. How often do we take time just to look back and learn the lessons of the past? What benefits can we take from what's happened? And I'm not necessarily talking about D-Day, but there was an appreciation piece there for me, a personal one around ancestors' contributions and things. And I've got slightly off topic here, but it's a passion piece for me in terms of really reflecting on my behaviors and finding time and space to really do that. And places like that and memorials are a good place that I can do that if I reflect on just where is my space to think and take time for myself. And I suppose that was, for me, that was it. And yeah, I've completely forgot what you asked me, Georgie. I've just distracted myself so much. All I'm thinking now is D-Day.
It's all right. You were merely being reflective about World War One. It's absolutely fine. I know it's a big passion project for you. I mean, I tell you, one of the things that also changes you is being a parent. But you have a son who is excelling in the sports arena. What's that like, being a parent of a child that's doing that again? I mean, how does it make you feel about your own childhood and all of those sorts of emotions? Do they come to the fore watching him?
Oh, 100%. First of all, I love being a parent. That again has taught me so many valuable lessons. I mean, we go into parenting with just no real idea, which is bonkers considering humans have been doing it forever.
I think that's on purpose. If you had an idea, you might go, ooh.
I'm never doing that. Yeah. But it's been so brilliant. I've got two boys, and they're both absolutely unique and a joy in their own rights. But the lessons that parenting side of things has taught me, and also they both love this sport. So my eldest is on the football pathway, and he's doing really well. But from a personal point of view, when I sit in the car after a game, and I used to ask questions, how are you getting on, mate? Everything all right? When you think as a parent, I really want to support my child. How best can I do it? So you're in the car asking questions, and I do that. I did that, probably for a couple of years, when he first started playing. And I did it with both the boys. And after a while, I started to notice that he just wasn't giving me anything back. So I asked him, mate, do you mind if I ask you questions after games? And he was like, I'd really rather you didn't. I was like, oh, why? He was like, well, because I feel like I've got to give you a right answer, and you're just applying pressure. I just want to chill out. I was like, oh, mate.
Wow.
First of all, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And also, I wish I'd asked that earlier, because it makes total sense, right? Your children want to please you. Normally, as a parent, they want to, they want to have your, they know that they're doing well, they want to please you and all this type of stuff. So of course, if I'm constantly asking questions, then that's going to be applying like an unconscious pressure. And
I find myself doing the same thing actually with our daughter, and Ben does it too. And I said the same thing to him the other day. I said, maybe they feel, or maybe Bellatrix feels a little bit like we're just kind of like the next step on from the sports person or the teacher at school kind of asking. They've already done that piece. We don't need to do that with the parents, right? We don't need to follow it up with any kind of analysis piece. So yeah, I think that probably is a mindset problem from where we come from as well.
And because we're in that, because we've been in that sporting world, it's like an appraisal after every game. So you're so used to it, but they're getting all that information already, aren't they? So actually the last thing they want when they come home is, no, they just want fun. So my tip would be to anyone that is in that mindset as a parent and that hears this and goes, oh yeah, actually I do that, is just, instead of asking them questions, just share stuff about your day. And I found 100% as soon as I started doing that, my kids started talking to me more in the car. As soon as I stopped asking them questions and unconsciously applying pressure to them, I just started sharing stuff. I was like, oh, we had so many more valuable conversations.
And we're back to that wonderful word of feedback. We've come full circle. Lewis, thank you so much. It's been so brilliant to chat to you. It's been lovely. Really nice conversation. Thank you.
Pleasure, Georgie.